welcome to my channel. My name's Luisa. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's staying safe, enjoying the warmer temperatures. I know I am. I love warmer temperatures and I love summertime, which is right around the corner. You know what else is right around the corner? 4th of July. That's right. It's already the 8th of June. But you know what? It's not too late to get the beads to make this beautiful bracelet set. Okay, now this tutorial is basically for beginners, all right? But if you're advanced, of course, you're welcome to watch. And by the way, you don't have to make it in red, white, and blue. You can make it in whatever color you want, whatever type of bead that you might have in your stash. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and turn the camera around and we'll get started. I want to show you this option before we move on to the 4th of July version. I just love how this one looks. It's so adorable, and look at these gorgeous mermaid beads. That's what we're going to be using today, okay? And these mermaid beads have different names. You may have seen them called imitation moonstone beads, imitation spectralite beads, mystic aura beads. There are all kinds of names for these beads because of how they look, because of that beautiful iridescent glow inside the bead. Now, let me just show you a close-up of what's inside that bead that makes it glow. Okay, hold on a second. This is one of the colors that we're going to be using in the 4th of July version. What they do is they split them in half, coat them with an AB finish, okay, and then they fuse them together. And that's what creates that glow inside. So if you look real closely and if you spin that around, what you're looking at is the part where the AB finish went on. And I don't know if you can see this one here. This one, you can see where it was fused together. So if you spin that around, you'll notice the AB finish is inside that bead, okay? Because they coated it when it was split in half and then they fused it together. So that AB finish is on the inside of each of these beads, and that's why they look like they glow. They just capture the light, and they look beautiful in the sunlight, and they look magical. They honestly do. They look magical. So, but as you can see, you know, you can make them in all kinds of colors, and there's my beautiful rose bead. We're going to be using one of these, but ours is going to be red. Okay, that'll be the red in the red, white, and blue. And this one does have the bezel in the back, all right? And it's a stretch bracelet, very comfortable, okay? I don't want to make this tutorial difficult. I want it to be easy. So this tutorial is mostly for the beginners, okay? And we're going to do this bracelet. It's a stretch bracelet. I'm going to show you how to finish it off because this one's a little bit different than your standard stretch bracelet. It has this connector link. So we're going to have to attach the stretch cord in a different manner. And let me go ahead and go over the materials. All right, so here are the beads we're going to be using. We're going to be using 3 different colors. We're going to be using red, white, and blue. I did not have any red mermaid beads in my stash, so I pulled out these 5 polished check beads. These are 8mm and they're red. So they're not red, but you know, it's like a little bit of a dark red, which is fine. It's going to look just fine. And these are white. They're not opaque. Okay, so when you go to buy your mermaid beads, you're not going to find any opaque ones, obviously, because you wouldn't be able to see the beautiful AB finish in the center. So it's like a white, you know, frosted kind of a bead, and they're all 8mm beads, and you'll need between 12 and 16 beads depending on how you like to wear your bracelets. Okay, my wrists are kind of small, so I use 12, but you know, if you like to wear your bracelets loose, you may need a few more. It's up to you, but whatever you do, you need to make sure that the red, white, and blue pattern is evenly spaced out. Okay. All right, the next thing you're gonna need is a rose bead, and mine is red, and I went onto Etsy and purchased a whole bag of them, and they come in all kinds of colors. You can find these on Amazon as well. The only problem with Amazon is that usually they come from China, and then it takes forever for them to arrive. So Etsy usually ships quicker, and you can check, you know, the location of the vendor before you actually purchase them. But I love these because of all the different colors. So I'm going to be able to do all kinds of things with these. Now, these are not drilled, okay? These are just cabochons, undrilled cabochons. And the description says they're 15 millimeters wide. They are, however, if you flip them over, this little piece here is not 15 millimeters wide. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that. They're 15 millimeter wide from one edge to the next, okay? So when you go to buy the bezels, which is the next thing we're going to need, you need to take that into account. I wasn't sure when I first saw these about how big that base was going to be, but I went ahead and purchased 15 millimeters, actually, I'm sorry, 14 millimeter wide bezels, okay? That's how wide these are. It's a bag of 50. And I did get these on Amazon and they ship pretty quickly. All right, so you're going to need one of these. You're also going to need some crystal spacer beads. And this is a huge 500 piece bag that I got on Amazon quite a while ago. They do come from China. So if you do try to get these on Amazon, just make sure you check the delivery date because you may not get them in time for 4th of July. Okay. But you're going to need some of these, and these are about 8 millimeters wide. They're pretty big, and this is what they look like. Very shiny, very sparkly, and it's just a plain clear crystal. All right. Okay. Next, you will need some crimp covers, and you're only going to need 2 crimp covers. All right, and you're not going to need crimps, just the crimp covers, because we're going to use the crimp covers to cover up the knots that we're going to make. And these are 4 millimeters, okay? These are 4 millimeter size. So you need 2 of these. And of course, you're going to need some stretch cord, and this is called Stretch Magic, and it's 0.7 millimeters wide, okay? So it's pretty thick, and the reason I like to use this one is because the beads, when you're using 8 millimeter beads, you're going to need a stretch cord that's relatively thick, okay? So this one is 0.7 millimeters, and any brand will do. It doesn't have to be Stretch Magic. Just make sure that it's a nice thick stretch cord, okay? And this is optional. I'm going to be attaching a little charm to my bracelet just to make it a little bit prettier. And this is a box that I got on Amazon a long time ago, and it's a box full of heart charms in 2 different colors, silver and gold. And I think I'm going to use this one. These are pretty simple looking, and they're not too big. You'll need a jump ring to attach the charm, and these are about 6 millimeters. It's a packet of multicolored jump rings, and I'm going to be using the silver one. We'll be using some glue on the knots, and I like to use the GS Hypo Cement glue. I like this because it has a precision tip, so it's easy to apply, and of course mine is all full of glue that I need to clean off. Look like it seeped out, but anyway, it's a good brand. I love this brand. You're also going to need some E6000, and I like to use this glue inside the bezel because it's a little bit stickier than this one. It's a little bit thicker, and it holds the bead a little bit better, I think. So some E6000, okay. All right, as far as the tools go, you will need some pliers to open and close the jump rings. You're going to need some clippers to cut your stretch cord. You're going to need some crimping pliers to crimp that crimp cover down, and I think that's about it. I don't think I've missed anything, at least I hope not. I always end up forgetting something. Yep, I sure did. I forgot to mention the bead caps. Now these are optional, you don't have to use them. I just think that it makes the bracelet look a little bit classier, and these are about 6 millimeter in diameter, but just whatever you use, just make sure that it hugs that bead nicely and it's not sticking out too much, okay? All right, so now that we have everything, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue this pretty little cabochon inside that bezel. All right, so let me go ahead and put some paper down to protect my board and open up my E6000. And I really do need to get a new tube because this one is just all messed up. And you're going to put some E6000 inside that bezel. You want to put quite a bit, but obviously you don't want it overflowing, because once you put that cabochon in there, you don't want a big mess. But you want enough so that it holds that cabochon in place, okay? Let me show you. I'll bring it up close so you can see how much, okay? That's about how much you want. And all you're going to do is you're going to take your cabochon and you're going to stick it in there, twirl it around a little bit, and that's pretty much it, okay? As you can see, it fits really nicely inside that bezel. All right, so now here's the most important part, guys, okay? You need to let this dry, and you need to let it dry for quite some time, okay? I would say at least an hour, because you don't want this falling out in the middle of trying to make the bracelet, and then you got to glue it again, and then you get glue all over the place. That's happened to me. What I normally do, just to be on the safe side, I do this the day before. That's what I do. That way it cures a little bit, it hardens a little bit. You know, E6000 is pretty strong, but it takes time for it to cure, all right? And if you can wait 24 hours, that's better than just, you know, I mean, you can definitely work on it. It's not a big deal. I'm just letting you know that, you know, for other projects, you might want to let it sit for a little bit longer than just an hour, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. So let me go ahead and let this dry, and I'll come right back. All right, it's been about an hour. It's pretty dry. I'm pretty confident that it's not going to fall out. All right, so now we're going to grab the Stretch Magic, and you're going to cut yourself a piece that's about, I don't know, let's say 12 inches, 12, 14 inches, something like that. Okay. All right, and now the first thing we're going to do is attach one end. Now, let me talk to you about this, okay? I find it much easier to do a solid 3 knots on one of these loops when I don't have any beads on here, okay? The problem with that is that once you do that, then there's no turning back. You can't experiment on the number of beads you're going to need. That's the only problem. All right. So what I recommend that you do, okay, if you're not sure how many beads you're going to use, I recommend that you go ahead and lay your beads down on some kind of a board or something where you can actually measure them, okay? Or even take one of these strands, okay, and wrap it around your wrist and see how many beads you're gonna need, okay? That's one way to do it. Once you know how many beads you're gonna need, then it's okay to go ahead and do your knot first, okay? Because let me tell you something, when you do a knot on one of these loops, it's easy if there's no beads. Once you load your cord and you knot the other end, that's a difficult knot to do because you have all those beads in the way. All right, that's why I'm telling you this. So your other option is to put a little binder clip on this end, or a bead stopper, okay? Load your beads, and then go ahead and tie the loops, or tie the ends to the loops, okay? That's the other option. But I'm going to do it my way today because I'm going to try to do my way, the easy, which is the easy way, to show you guys, okay? So basically you just do 3 simple overhand knots, okay? By the way, stretch your cord, okay? Stretch it out before you load your beads. That's important. You don't have to go crazy with it, just give it a stretch. All right, so that's 1. That's 2. And that's 3. Pull it, make sure that it's nice and snug, but don't pull it too much, because if you do, the cord will actually break. All right, so just pull it enough so that it tightens up into a nice small knot, okay? Once you do that, you want to get your GS Hypo Cement, and you're going to dab a little tiny bit of glue on that knot. Very small amount, okay? Not very much at all. Now you do want that glue to dry a little bit, okay? But GS Hypo Cement dries pretty quickly, so just, you know, wait a few minutes and then go ahead and snip off the excess cord. All right, and now at this point you're going to cover up that knot, okay? And you're going to do it by using a crimp cover. So just slip the crimp cover over the top of it the best way you can, just like this. Grab your crimping pliers and very gently close it up, okay? You want to do it in a way so it doesn't dent that crimp cover. And usually I do it this way. Can you guys see that? So that it closes it up nicely. Okay. Now this crimp cover has a pretty large hole, so it's not going to cut into the cord. Okay, it shouldn't cut into the cord. And this is what it looks like. It's a very nice finished look. Okay, so now we're going to thread on some beads. All right, so here are my beads, here are my bead caps, and here are my spacer beads. And I'm going to start by threading a bead cap on. Mine are going to have bead caps, all of my beads are, but like I said before, you do not have to have bead caps. Some people don't like them if you don't want to, okay? So just make sure that you thread them on properly, okay? So each bead is going to have a bead cap on each end, just like that. Okay, and you know, you're going to have to figure out what pattern you want to use. What I'm going to do is I'm going to separate all of my colors, each of my colors, with one of these crystal spacer beads. So I'm going to start with one red one, okay? Then a spacer bead, and then I'm going to continue. Obviously, the next color is going to be white. Okay, this is what it's looking like so far. Very pretty. And I'm going to thread on 2 more of the white ones. Here's what we have so far. 1 red one, 3 white ones, bead caps at each end, spacer bead in between the colors. So now I'm going to thread on a spacer bead, a crystal spacer bead. Okay, and so now I'm going to start the blue. Bead cap, blue bead, another bead cap, and I'm going to thread on 2 more of the blue ones. Now before we go any further, I'm going to measure this because I want to make sure that it's going to fit me, okay? And I said I was going to add 3, but actually I think I'm just going to leave it like this. And so I'm going to repeat the same pattern going back the other way. So I'm going to start with 2 blue beads, and then 3 white ones and a red one, and then I'm going to tie the other end. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm back. Tell me that's not adorable. Oh my gosh, look at this gorgeous bracelet. I just love it. And guys, you know, don't get too hung up on the number of beads, okay? Because it really, as long as it's symmetrical, and see what I'm talking about? There are 3 white ones and 4 blue ones there, but this piece here, the red piece is pretty long. Okay, so I don't care that there are 4 blue ones and not 3. But you know, it all depends, like I said before, how big you want it. So maybe yours will work out to have, you know, 4 of each color. I don't know. So anyway, so now that you've got them all threaded, and as you can see, I have bead caps on each single one, and as you can see, I also have the the crystal spacer beads in between the colors. Okay. Now we're going to tie this loop. And I know this is an easy project. It's very easy. But you know what? That's okay, because I know there are plenty of beginners out there. And, you know, I remember when I was a beginner and I had to look for videos. And so there will always be beginners, okay? And if you're advanced, maybe you can learn a little bit about how I tie my bracelets. You know, sometimes I do different methods. Sometimes I use crimp beads. But anyway, this is just another way to do it when you're using these kinds of links, okay? So here's the difficult part, because you want to make sure that when you tie your 3 knots that it's nice and snug and you don't have any spaces in between the beads. That's going to be a challenge because now we have beads loaded. So do your first one and carefully tie it, making sure that there's no space between the knot and the beads, okay? So you're going to have to tie it and then kind of pull it a little bit from this end and from this end. Okay, just to make sure that there are no spaces. You don't want any space between the knot and the strand of beads. Then once you've got your first one, you're going to go ahead and do your other 2 knots. Okay, it gets easier once you get that first knot tied. So do a loop and then bring it around and then gently pull it, making sure it doesn't get tied up in the bead caps or the beads themselves. Okay, and again, you want to pull it to make sure there's no slack. Okay, that's knot number 2. And now knot number 3. Do a loop, pull it through, and give it a tug. Okay, once you're satisfied that it's on there pretty well and there are no gaps, you're going to go ahead and apply a little dab of glue on that knot. All right, so get your GS Hypo Cement, put a little dab on there. Not too much. And let it dry for a few minutes. Once it's dry, you're going to snip off the excess stretch cord. Okay, and now the only thing that's left is the crimp cover. So we're going to go ahead and attach the crimp cover. Just slip it over the knot like this. Okay, just like that. And then get your crimp pliers and very gently close up that crimp cover the best way you can without denting it. You can use nylon coated pliers if you feel more comfortable, but this method works okay. You just have to be very careful and do it slowly, making sure that you get a nice round shape. Okay, you don't want an egg shape. That looks pretty round. Okay, and that's basically it. Isn't that gorgeous? I love this bracelet. Oh my gosh, it's so adorable. Look at this. Look at this bracelet. Isn't that cute? All right, so I'm going to make another one, and the other one that I'm going to make is because I like to wear them stacked, and it's not going to have a rose. It's just going to have red, white, and blue. That's all it's going to have. It's not going to have the rose. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll come back. All right, so I wanted to show you just a regular traditional knot because obviously we don't have the link on this one is just the beads. So I'm going to show you how to finish it off. Basically, you want to have a bead that has a large hole at one end, because that's where we're going to hide the knot. Okay, so here's my pattern, red, white, and blue. It's going to look like this. Okay, so red, white, and blue, red, white, and blue, and I did measure it, so it's about the correct size for my wrist. And I have a little clipper on the end, well, binder clip, I guess it's called, I don't know. Anyway, what you're going to do is the same thing. You're going to do your 3 knots. Okay, so go ahead and do your first one, get it real close. Okay, and then make sure that when you do your knot, your 3 knots, that they don't get caught up on the beads. So you want to pull both ends. Okay, making sure that it's nice and tight. And you can do 3 knots, you can do 4 knots, whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay, it's up to you. And then once you got your knots made, then go ahead and apply your GS Hypo Cement onto that knot the best way you can. Okay. Get your clippers and snip off the excess stretch cord. And here's the beautiful 4th of July bracelet. Now, I didn't use bead caps because I wanted you to see how it looks without the bead caps. It's still pretty, but I like the bead caps because it just makes it look classier. But I wanted to do both versions so you can see just how pretty they are. We are going to attach the charm in a minute, but there you go. There is your 4th of July bracelet set. Okay, so for the charm, it's very simple. You get your charm, you get your jump ring, and by the way, I did switch to a smaller jump ring. I switched to a 4mm jump ring. And this is very easy, guys, and I know my advanced speeders are probably stopping the video right now because they're bored. But we're going to attach a charm onto one of these loops, okay? And so to do that, you just get your jump ring. And this is mostly for the beginners because I know I have a lot of beginners. And open it up just like that, okay? Attach your charm, very pretty charm, and then attach it to one of the little loops on this connector bezel. You want to make sure that jump ring is closed really well. Check it from the top, check it from the side, and I always try to feel it as well, make sure it's there are no gaps there. And there you go, there's your charm. Okay, that is so adorable. I love that. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. It is so cute. I love this bracelet. And you know, it looks really pretty in the sun because of that AB finish inside the bead. These are just really gorgeous. So that's it, guys. I hope you liked today's video. Let me go ahead and put this away and I'll come back and say goodbye. I thought I would put on this gorgeous pink/lilac version because I just think it's adorable. This bracelet is going to look great in whatever color you choose, and I just love flower beads. I am so in love with them, and I can't seem to let go of spring for some reason. I just love my flower beads. But anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope I've inspired you. Go out and get your beads. It's not too late. Just put your order in. Make sure you check the delivery date before you put it in because you want to make sure you get the beads on time. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.